This week on Uncut Gems with Slim.
Make sure that you're being filled. There may be relationships in your life where you are the person who is pouring into someone else, but you also cannot pour from an empty bottle. You're left there where your soil is dry and the seeds that you're planting aren't able to grow because you've been pouring out everything to everyone else and not being filled yourself. Hey y'all, welcome back for another episode of Uncut Gems with Slim. I'm your host, Jasmine, better known as Slim Reshae. And y'all, when I tell you, your girl has been having a whole lot going on in my mental lately, I guess I could say. And I've been learning in this season how to be honest with myself, right? So I feel like there's a lot of times where we can experience things, go through things, and have our perspective on things, but it's very important to learn how to be honest with yourself. So say if you are going through a situation or, you have feelings on a certain topic, like taking a moment to pause, step back from your emotions or step back from the situation in itself and just be honest with yourself. There's a certain level of vulnerability that I think comes with just the act of being honest with yourself. And so that's something I've been learning in this season. And so when I was kind of studying over the information that I want to share with you today, I came up with the question of, are you pursuing the right instruction? And when I say right instruction, I'm referring to God's plan for your life, his blueprint, the vision, when he thought of you before the test of time, how your life planned out. Are we pursuing the instructions that he's given us so we can fulfill his will? And when thinking of that, there's a couple of different things that come into play. One thing that I immediately thought about is your circle. I'm always talking about how important it is to take inventory of the people that you allow to have access to your life, whether it be people. Last week we kind of talked about social media and influences and things like that, and just being mindful of the things that has access to your life. And when thinking about that, I want you to ask yourself, is your circle building your faith or building your doubt? So I know for me, I have certain friends that I go to for certain things, right? So I have some friends who will, give it to me straight, which I need. I have some friends who will give me guidance from one perspective or spiritual guidance. And then I have other friends who might, I wouldn't say enable me, but they'll, hype me up sometimes and let me do what I'm going to do. But then they'll still keep it real with me. And so when it comes to thinking of that kind of scenario where it's okay, I'm gonna go to this friend for that, I'm gonna go to this friend for that. 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna hold y'all. In a situation that I may be experiencing, I'm gonna go to all my friends. I'm gonna get every little bit I can get from them. So I'm gonna get my spiritual advice, I'm gonna get my sharpshooter who gonna shoot me straight, and I'm gonna get my friend that's gonna, help brush my ego, my pride a little bit. So I could get the full scope of things, right? And I say all this to say, you just want to make sure the people that are in your circle are people who are building your faith. I kind of think about a plant. If it's not growing, it's dying. A plant just not going to stay stagnant its entire life. It's not going to stay the same its entire life. It's either going to be growing or it's going to be dying. And so I like to make sure when it comes to my circle, I want to make sure they're building me up and building me towards the full potential that I have in life. And sometimes there are people in your life who may feed into your doubt. So say if you're doubting something, you want to make sure your friends or your circle or your family, whoever you're allowing to influence you, you is someone who can speak the truth of who God called you to be over your life. I've been reading this book, and it's about forgiveness. I can't remember the title off the top of my head right now or the exact words that they were talking about, but it was a husband and wife situation, and they went through, and the husband had an affair, and she was just kind of talking about that journey of forgiveness with that situation. And one of the things that helped them to move forward after forgiveness is to, when things weren't going good, or something comes up, each person will place themselves in a place where they can hear and receive the other person's concerns. And then the person who is listening to those things, not only will they give the practical, realistic feedback and things like that, but also they make sure that they reassure the partner and encourage them of what God says about you, and not particularly this situation. So they're not gonna feed into doubts that they might be having. They're gonna declare and decree over your life who God called you to be, right? And so again, I think I got this from one of the sermons from my church a while back, but we were talking about pursuing the right instruction, and how the right instruction houses everything I need. So I feel in life you can go through things and feel I'm just not there yet. I'm always trying to get there. There's always more. I need this, I need that. But the right instruction houses everything I need, because that's God's will. And basically, the peace and provision that I'm looking for is found in following the right instruction. So last season, I kind of mentioned 3 main communities that have the most impact in your life. First was the community due to proximity. So that's people who are in your life because of close physical proximity, whether that be family, whether that be church family, whether that be, co-workers, people that you literally see daily. That's your community due to proximity. The second is the community you choose. So friends, people that you actively choose to have a relationship with, and community that you choose to be around. And third, the community that you consume online, whether that be accounts that you follow, tea pages, news, whatever you consume online or digitally. That is the third most important community that has impact on your life. So as we recap on those 3 communities, I kind of want to talk about the importance of environment. So you may have heard the quote about how if a seed doesn't grow, you don't question the seed, you question the environment. For instance, if you know that you have a seed, and by seed I mean a goal or a vision, and you notice that your reality isn't really progressing towards that goal, you don't see that seed starting to grow and flourish, or that vision coming to life, then it may be time to check your surroundings. Check the environment around you. Now, taking this back to, those good old science days, when you think about a seed needs sunlight, good soil, water, and a specific environment to grow and to thrive. So I don't know if y'all grew up farming or none of that, but you can't just throw the seed in the ground and expect it to flourish, right? You have to make sure that you're planting it in the right season. So you're not going to plant collard greens dead in the middle of the summertime and expect them to grow and thrive. You're not going to plant rice in clay sand. You want to make sure that the seed is planted in the right environment during the right time with the right conditions. And so again, as I'm talking about this seed, I'm talking about your goals and your vision. So if you see that your seed is not growing, if you're not making any progress towards your goals or your visions, then it's time to check these 4 areas. Number 1 is sunlight. Without sunlight, you're unable to grow fruit that will sustain. So speaking of sunlight, this is kind of a metaphor for God. So think about it. Is your seed the vision and goal that you're striving towards? Is it a seed that God has given you? Is it a dream or a goal that God has placed on your heart? And check to see if that goal is in line with the promises that He declared over your life. As I was thinking about this, I thought about John 15:5-8, which says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, my words abide in you. You will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you may bear much fruit, so you will be my disciples. Without God, you can do nothing. Like, if you think about the small things, you literally cannot live without God breathing life into your lungs. Without him, you can literally do nothing. Like, he is the one that wakes you up in the morning. He is the one that has a plan for your life, who has perfectly orchestrated the timeline of your life. So circling back to the sunlight aspect, when it comes to plants, even the most shade tolerant plants need sunlight to thrive. This is because plants use sunlight to make their own food in a process called photosynthesis. Now, I ain't gonna take y'all to school, but every plant needs some form of sunlight, right? And so when I think about this, like, our plans require the sunlight. Our goals, our vision, our dreams require the sunlight, being God. And without the sun, without God, our seed, our ideas, and our visions will not thrive to its fullest potential. God is the way, the truth, and the life. And so you can try and do things in your own strength. And I am sitting here as someone who has tried to do plenty of things in their own strength, from my career, my podcast, my love life, like all the things. Like, I have been down the road of trying to do things in my own strength, and it's not until you really like click and understand, like, I'm never gonna reach my fullest potential without God being the head of this, and without me, going to God about everything. And I'm saying this, I'm preaching to the choir. I am saying this as I'm learning this. I'm not on the mountaintop yet. I do not have it all figured out, but daily I am striving and learning and trying to put into practice, like making sure that I keep God at the center of everything I do, down to the smallest things, hanging out with people, daily decisions, my discipline. I think a reason why I struggle with discipline is because I don't be putting God at the front of every single thing that I do, from, just anything. And I think when you really put God and only God in that number one position, and stop thinking that you have control over your life, that's when the sunlight gives way to the seed in order to help it grow and reach its fullest potential. Okay, we get it. Sunlight, plants need sunlight. Your goals, your dreams, your visions need God to be the head of it. It needs to be in line with the promises that he has for your life. Number 2 is good soil. So I don't know if y'all ever tried to plant anything before, but my dad, he's a gardener. He plants things. His gardens are absolutely amazing. So I've learned a few things about, like the soil, tilling the soil, making sure it's properly watered, making sure it has the proper fertilizer, making sure, there are the different things that you sprinkle or spray on the plants to make sure the bugs don't eat it up, or your tomatoes aren't rotten on the bottom. There's a lot of small, intricate details when it comes to just the environment that you're planting your seed in. There's a lot more than just getting some dirt and putting your seed in it and expecting it to grow. Good soil takes proper care. It takes knowledge, okay? It takes a lot of different ingredients to create the best soil for your seed to go into, for your plant to thrive. So are you sowing seed in good ground? You can take this perspective from like a tithing aspect, for a giving aspect. You can count your seed like your money. Are you sowing your money into good ground? Where's your money going? Are you spending it at brunch on Sundays? Are you spending it going out with the homies every weekend? Are you spending it on recreational activities, on liquor, and it ain't communion? Are you spending it on cars, purses, makeup? Like, are you sowing your seed in good ground? Are you investing your resources wisely? And it may not be money that is something that you're investing. Your time. How are you investing your time? Are you investing your time into the goals and desires that the Lord placed on your heart? Or are you investing your time in simple pleasures or temporary satisfaction? Like, where are you investing your resources? Are you investing your time by just scrolling on social media, or are you investing your time by reading a book to learn more about your career field, or investing in courses that may take you to the next level and allow you to gain a new skill set? When it comes to good ground, fertilizer is a big part of a good soil mix. What are some resources that you can utilize, and what are some investments that you can make that will help you make progress and grow towards your vision, your goals? So I kind of mentioned them a little bit before. You can invest in a course. You can invest your time doing research. You can reach out to communities and, find a mentor that can help pour into you and give you information that can help you grow. Like, you don't always have to feel like you're doing it from scratch. First and foremost, if you feel like you're doing anything from scratch and all on your own, you're not doing it with God. Period. If you feel like you are just trying to figure it out, you're all alone, you're not doing it with God. And right now, I'm not gonna hold y'all. This whole episode is a whole bunch of revelations for me. I heard one time, if you show me where you spend your money, you'll show me the desires of your heart, or like you'll show me where your heart is, kind of thing. As we're talking about this, I would recommend just taking a moment out of this week and pausing to see, like, what are you investing in? What are you spending your money in? Like, even if you don't got no budget, I don't got no budget like that, I need to get one. But just ask yourself, like, where am I spending the most money? Where am I spending the most time? And that will kind of show you how you're investing your resources. And from there, you can determine if you're investing your resources, your time, your money into something that is going to help you grow towards your goals, or if you're making poor investments that's not really going to get you anywhere. For me, like, I love a good TV show, good Netflix, woo woo rah rah. And sometimes I have to check myself, like, I done watched like a whole season, 8 episodes. In this amount of time, I could have completed a coursework for editing, or a coursework for understanding my analytics better so I could be better in my career. It's simple things like that that can take you from being good to being great. And all of these things will provide a firm foundation that will help you nourish the goal and the vision that the Lord's laid on your heart. Number 3 is water. Obviously, when you're planting a plant, it needs sunlight, it needs good soil, and number 3, it needs water. So who are you allowing to pour into your vision? We kind of talked about the 3 C's, which is the 3 different types of communities that we have around us. And you have to determine if those communities are hindering your growth. Like I said earlier, is your circle building your faith or building your doubt? One thing that has been such a benefit for my life is having accountability partners. And I will preface this by saying sometimes you'll have accountability partners for different seasons of your life. They may not be the same person, from middle school all the way through your adulthood. Like, you may have accountability partners for different seasons. And one time we was having Devo at my church, and someone said something that was so key, and I was like, wait a minute. They was like, when you vent down, it's gossip, and when you vent up, it's mentorship. And I had to sit and think about that, and I was like, that's so true, because when you want to be enabled, you go to that friend that's going to hype you up and, stroke your ego and hype you up to do the things that you probably not supposed to do. So when you vent to them, it's kind of like gossip, because there's no productivity happening. But when you vent up, so for me, when I go to my friends who I go to for spiritual advice, or there's certain friends in my life that I'll go to who will be sharpshooters, shoot me straight, who will, my mom, she always someone that I can vent up to, because she has that wisdom and she's going to pour into me. But it's very important to know who has your ear, because just like we said last week, you are what you eat. So if you continually go to a confidant who is someone who is playing into your doubts and into your fears, like that's all you're gonna get out of it. Versus if you go to someone who is a little bit more wise and they can give you practical advice, even though 9 times out of 10 it's probably gonna be something you don't want to hear or you don't want to comply to. But when you go to them, it's a form of mentorship in a sense, I guess, because it's kind of like when you go to your therapist. Like, if you go to a therapist and you vent to them, they can help you dissect that and unpack that in a way that going to your enabling homeboy or homegirl, that's not going to do nothing but hype you up to do something crazy or do something that you have no business doing, versus venting up to someone who can give you more sound advice. So with that being said, be careful who you vent to. And then number 4, the environment. So of course, you can plant a seed in good soil and you can water it as it needs to be watered. But if you plant it during the wrong season, it still has the potential to not grow or not produce fruit that will sustain. For me, when I think about environment, I think about everything that affects you. Like lately, y'all, I've been struggling to just get out the bed, honey, because it's getting cold. It's cold outside. It's getting cold, okay? And I like my heat, but if you want to run the heat, you got to pay the price. So sometimes it be a little bit nippy in here, and all of these things play a role and affects me in how I get my day started, right? And so everything that affects you is a part of your environment. Your mental health, obstacles that you're enduring, your physical health, etc. Just different things like that all play into your environment. And just like the environment around us outside, the 4 seasons, it's always changing. Like the temperature changes every day, fluctuates. It's never going to just be the same, right? It's always changing. The wind is always blowing in a different direction. Just like the environment outside, our lives are always changing. The wind is always going to blow in another direction. Things are going to happen. And like I said, just like you go through spring, summer, fall, and winter, in life, there are different seasons that you go through. You'll go through times where things are good. You'll go through times where things are not so good. And you'll go through times where the unexpected happens. And so although life is continually changing, the unexpected happens. Regardless of how much the environment changes, the seed that you planted in the good soil that's being watered properly is still affected by that environment. So you want to be mindful of the different things that you can control when it comes to your environment. For instance, the people that you allow to have access to, the content that you consume, the situations that you may voluntarily place yourself in. Those are different things that you can kind of control and make decisions, because when you sow that seed into good ground in the right season, the roots are able to grow wide and deep, which will allow it to sustain throughout these seasons when they come. Now, circling back to this week's gem about pursuing the right instruction, like I said, the right instruction houses peace, it houses provision, and all you have to do is keep God at the center of it. Like, He will literally show you all the things that you need to fulfill the instruction, because if He promised it to you, if it's what He decided for your life, like, He's not going to give you an instruction, He's not going to give you a vision or a goal and not provide a way for that thing to come to pass. Like, He is not going to place something on your heart and not provide the provision for it to come to pass. So like I said, sunlight is God. You have to have Him in your life. You have to make sure the instruction, the vision, the goal that you're pursuing is something that He placed as a desire for your heart. Number 2, good soil. You want to make sure you're investing what you have wisely, whether that be time, whether that be money. You want to make sure that you're investing it wisely and into good ground. Then the water. Check who you're allowing to pour into you. But also for my people who are the ones who pour, make sure that you're being filled. There may be relationships in your life where you are the person who is pouring into someone else, but you also cannot pour from an empty bottle. So you want to make sure that someone is pouring into you as well. Like, you have someone who you can go to that's a mentor, and you're not just the mentor, the strong friend carrying everything for everyone else, pouring into everyone else, and you're left there dry with nothing. You're left there where your soil is dry and the seeds that you're planting aren't able to grow because you've been pouring out everything to everyone else and not being filled yourself. So make sure, whether you're that strong friend, you're the pourer, you're the mentor, make sure that you're getting poured into. And number 3, your environment. Acknowledge that it's always changing. Like, there's nothing we can do about that, but we can stand firm and have a firm foundation if we are rooted in God's truth that He says about you. And you won't wither, you won't fall when storms come. Like, you will be set because you know the truth that the Lord has said about you. So take some time this week and pray about it. Ask the Lord, like, what is the proper instruction that you should be pursuing right now? Like, if there's a goal that you feel like you've been stagnant with, pray about it and be like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to be pursuing right now? Like, how do you want me to navigate this? Like, when I say this, I'm saying it because I'm really speaking to myself. Like, I'm gonna stop, putting all the responsibility on me and put it back on God. Okay, because it's you, big dog. This is your instruction, and if this is your instruction, you are gonna provide provision. It said it in the scripture, if I abide in Him, I will bear much fruit, period. No questions asked. So that's the challenge for this week. If I abide in Him and His words abide in me, I will ask what I desire and it shall be done. Lean into God and ask Him, like, big dog, like, what are we doing? Is this what you want me to do? If this is what you want me to do, like, I'm washing my hands with it and I'm letting you do what you say you're going to do. So that's the encouragement I want to leave you guys with this week. Just lean on God when it comes to your visions and your goals. Like, I literally just made my vision board and my goals, but I need to go back and I need to pray over it and be like, okay, God, like, this is, what I had in mind. Now I need you to sift through this and show me your vision, your goal, because I don't want my will, I want your will. And I want to put you at the forefront. If you have not made your vision board this year yet or thought about different goals that you want to achieve, I encourage you to not be backwards like me and do the vision board first and then pray about it. I want you to, like, really pray about it and ask the Lord to guide you as you're making your vision boards so you can make sure you're following the right instruction, because the right instruction houses all the peace and provision that you need to get there. So I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of Uncut Gems with Slim, and until next week. Uncut Gems.